Hello and welcome back to the Rambling RunOff Sports Podcast. I am your host, as always, Robert Rios, and you're listening to one of the funniest and goofiest sports podcasts around. Yes, thank you. Welcome back to our regular listeners, and hello and welcome to our newer listeners who may have just stumbled upon our little wonderful home known as Rambling RunOff. Once again, I'm your host, Robert Rios, and as always, we do have a host of sports news to go over, particularly a lot of NFL, actually a lot of tackle football, I should say, which includes the national championship game that just occurred between Georgia and Alabama. The NFL regular season just wrapped up, and we're going into the playoffs, which was very dicey towards the end. And for the warm-up, we're going to go over something a little bit different with the MLS Super Draft. And of course, we always got the rundown. So be sure to stick around towards the end, guys. And once again, if you have not noticed, I am alone once again. Yes, I said it twice because it's happened twice now. I'm alone. It's fine. We're just going to get through it. I mean, to be honest, I was a little surprised that I got through that last episode with over an hour of content. So if I'm doing a good job, then I'll pat myself on the back, I suppose. But yeah, I hope everything goes well as it did last time. I mean, like I said, I was surprised that I spoke as much as I did in the span of an hour and 19-ish minutes, which is remarkable, as in the last time I did a solo show, I barely reached an hour. But hey, we got a good amount of listens on the last show, so I guess people like hearing my voice, which is cool and dandy. But just as a quick update on myself, I don't know, same old. I go to work, I do this for fun, and yeah, that's mostly it. And I hope everyone's alive and well and recovering from their holiday parties and their holiday vacations. But enough about myself and what everybody else is doing. Let's jump into some football. Are you ready for some football? Part 2. And although I did do the NFL theme song for Monday Night Football, we're going to start way back to collegiate football, in which this past Monday was this January second week of January, the Georgia Bulldogs went up against the Crimson Tide of Alabama, in which the Bulldogs not reclaimed, how would you say this? They shut up all the doubters and finally defeated the mighty Alabama in a 33-18 victory. A decisive win, I should say, because it was a slow game in the beginning, but it did pick up very quickly in the second half. And for all you stats nerds like myself, this is Georgia's first national title in 41 years, and they are the 13th school to win it in the BCS/CFP era. So, like I kind of mentioned before, very briefly, it was kind of a very lackluster game. If you really like football, like if you're coming from NFL, it might have been kind of slow, considering that both teams combined for 5 field goals in the first half. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing much to say about that because it was 5 field goals in which Alabama was leading 9-6 at the half. I could tell it was very obvious that Georgia was still jittery from their recent defeat to Alabama in the SEC title game. And they're also, I guess you even say they're having a wartime flashback to their 2017 national title defeat to Alabama. And yeah, you could tell the Georgia guys were a little bit nervous because they were I think on the first 2 or 3 drives, they were unable to even make the 50-yard line. And I wouldn't even say Alabama had their number. It was just they weren't drawing up the right plays to get their offense going. But I guess luckily enough, Alabama. Well, I don't want to say Alabama was struggling as well in offense, but I could tell very quickly that Alabama was just going cookie cutter, quick slants, quick curls, quick comeback routes, in which they were finding holes in the Georgia defense, and not even like long plays either. It was like stuff like right by the line of scrimmage, just moving the ball, just having good momentum going up the field, getting not even getting first downs. They would just get the ball at 2nd and 3, 2nd and 5. All right, we're gonna play small ball. We're gonna like a ladder, one step at a time. It was very methodical offensive play, I thought, by Alabama in that first half. It's just for some reason, after they got past the 50-yard line, the Georgia defense just turned it on, and they weren't letting them score. And I think in the end, it paid off, considering they were victorious. It was just their offense just couldn't generate any type of positive play. Those first 2 possessions were just like, what? Like, are you guys really gonna lose? Like, are you guys gonna play that sloppy in the beginning of your play? But hey, luckily for them, they, play like their lives depended on it. And they kept Alabama to 3 field goals, remarkably. And then another thing I'd like to point out that also hindered Alabama's offensive play, their wide receiver, Jameson Williams, he left the first half after I don't know how to explain it, like a pretty nasty looking like juke and hobble. It was probably Alabama's second longest throw, probably the first in the game, but probably the second longest throw. Caught the ball in midfield. He was probably around the 30 or the 40-yard line. He kind of tried to stutter step, leaned on his left knee, and right when he stepped over again, his knee buckled and he started hobbling right before he got tackled, and he just went down. And that was the end of his night, unfortunately. And then now I'll move on into the second half, where it was a totally different story. Like, this game totally just flipped right upside down. And this is where things get very, very interesting, because there was even things that I've never even seen before. I don't even think people, and like the old commentators, didn't even know what to say. So, unfortunately, we still didn't get a touchdown until about the last minute of the third quarter, with Georgia actually surprising, which, I mean, I was surprised, but I'll explain it a little bit. Zamir White scoring from the 1-yard line, giving Georgia a 13-9 lead. And I said I was surprised because, and I mean this straight up, I was already telling myself, I was watching this game by myself, I think the first team to score a touchdown is going to win this game. Because the first team that scores a touchdown is going to be the one that carried the momentum. Because we're already in the second half. And the longer the game went, I was like, all right, this is straight up, like, the first person to score a touchdown is gonna win it. And in this case, it was Georgia. Georgia was able to get marched down the field and score the first touchdown of the game. And after a field goal, the Tide were down by 1. And a little while later, they were able to score on a 3-yard pass to be up by 5. They were, if it sounds like a weird scoreline, they were up by 5. Well, it was because they went for 2 and failed, which was weird plays. Bryce Young kind of just ran out of the pocket and had nowhere to go. And after that, the game for me kind of went sideways for Alabama, because I feel Georgia just laid down the hammer on their offense with their offense. O'Dani Mitchell received the ball from Mr. Stenson Bennett, a 40-yard bomb that was amazing. I couldn't believe he actually caught it. It was kind of like an over the shoulder catch, kind of with a defender with the corner or the safety in his face, in which I thought they were going to call a flat offensive foul on Mitchell because they were doing a lot of hand fighting. And when they both came down, they're both crashing, and it was just astonishing that he was able to pull the ball down with him because it looked like the ball almost hit the ground for a second, but he was able to scoop it up well enough well that he held on even with a defender like right next to him. And at that point, with that touchdown, the 6 points, they were up 19-18, Georgia. And same thing also, I think, because we were already in the fourth, they were like, all right, we're going to go for two also. And just like Georgia, the conversion was failed. I was like, why didn't you guys just kick it? But I think what was happening was that, you know, even like in professional football, you're like, we just got to put enough points on the board so that they can't, screw it up in a way that you could just kick a field goal and call it a day. So I guess, they had to go for two. And I think with Alabama, when they were for two, they were trying to, widen the lead, which backfired. In this case, luckily it didn't backfire for Georgia because their defense was not letting the Tide get away with anything really after the third quarter. And after that, it was just all Georgia because they were doing stuff that Alabama was just not prepared for. I think even before the 40-yard touchdown, there was a defensive foul, a holding call on the defense. The corner, man, God bless his soul, he got beat. And a moment of panic, I don't even think a moment of panic. He just straight up just tackled the Georgia wide receiver because the dude just started step, walked around him, and if that defender had grabbed on, he would have been gone. That would have been an automatic touchdown. And at that moment when they did that, I was like, all right, yeah, Georgia just laid down the hammer because they were waiting for the right moment to start running those plays. Because I feel like if they would have started running them earlier, Alabama would have just done an Alabama thing with Nick Saban at the helm. They would have adjusted, and they would have just got more. They would have just got comfortable in the game, and that would have screwed up everything for Georgia. But luckily, their patience paid off, and they were able to surprise this Alabama defense, which I wouldn't say sucked, but they certainly could have played better considering they've already beaten this team. But fool me once, shame on you. And Georgia was able to shake off whatever jitters they had in the first half and come back and be the better team in the second half. And yeah, after a Alabama possession, the Georgia Bulldogs had the ball again, and on a 3rd-and-1 play, I think Alabama tried blitzing because this guy came out of nowhere, tried to tip the ball as Stetson Bennett threw the ball up to let me see how you say his name, Brock Bowers for a 15-yard pass. And I would say that was the security score for the game. Because I mean it was kind of, I don't know, the play looked really goofy. I think it might have just been the blitz that threw me off because the receiver was kind of like in the flat and he had one blocker and that's all he needed just to run in. Like Alabama were not ready for that play at all. Like it caught everybody off by surprise. And then luckily they didn't go for two. They let their kicker, what's his name? Jack Palensi, who kicked all the other field goals. They let Jack put it up to the uprights and yeah, Georgia had the lead from there. And what blew the roof off of the place was the pick six. I don't know what the hell Bryce Young was thinking. I would say that he threw into a crowded area. I would also say the receivers were on the same page. He threw two picks, by the way. Threw two interceptions. One he overthrew. The second one, I guess you could say he underthrew it. At Keely Ringo ran back the ball for 79 yards. dude, the sound of that stadium just roaring, like it wasn't enough that they were beating Alabama and they were most likely going to win, but to beat them in this type of fashion was just like astonishing. And I mean, I'm not speaking as like I'm speaking as just a general college football fan because I mean, I've mentioned before in past episodes like this all I used to watch like all the time, and and considering like Alabama's been on top, and I know I've said that I didn't want to see two SEC teams in the final, just to see the Georgia Bulldogs do something they haven't done in a while. Like like I like no pun intended, but I like seeing the underdogs win, and for them to win 33-18, like I think that's a pretty big deal, because why I mean why wouldn't you want to see something different or something new in a way? Even though I know, yeah, it's SEC team again, but hey, I think it's good times all around for everybody if you like college football. And the joke going around is when Alabama loses, America wins. That's another funny way to see it. But yeah, both teams played decently in the second half. Like or I want to say both teams made it competitive enough to watch. In regards to single player stats, the quarterback for Georgia, Stetson Bennett, he went for 17 for 26, 224 yards with 2 touchdowns. And just as another fun fact, he is the first former walk-on to defeat a Nick Saban coach team as the starting QB since Michigan's Brian Grease in 1997, as Nick Saban was the coach at Michigan State. And it meant a lot to Bennett winning this. He was on the tier. He was in tears on the sideline. Like they were explaining his like background. Like he had to go to like a junior college because like his dream school didn't pick him up. And by the time he got to Alabama, he was like the third string. He was barely on the depth chart. Oh, excuse me. By the time he got to Georgia, excuse me, I misspoke. By the time he got to Georgia, he was like a third string, and it was like, who the hell is this guy? And people thought like he's like the Messiah. He's like, guys, like I just play football. So to see him like be teary eyed on the football field, like like you could tell it was important to him. Like he's probably like me in a way, like or like a lot of people, I should say, not just me. I'm not gonna be selfish. Like a lot of people, like they care a lot. Maybe some people might even say you care too much, but hey, but when it's just like innocent tears, like it means something. It's important to people. The other quarterback in the helm for their team, for Alabama, was Bryce Young, Heisman Trophy winner. He went 35 for 57, 369 yards, threw 1 TD and the 2 interceptions. I thought he played well. It was all TBH. They were zooming in on his face a lot, and he was making a lot of dumb faces. So I was like, this guy, I don't know what's going on with him. And in an ironic way, I mean, I think this isn't the first time where the Heisman Trophy winner doesn't. I mean, not the first time, but with Alabama in particular, it's like another one of those situations where the Heisman Trophy winner doesn't win the championship. So it's kind of like a yin and a yang, like you get one, not the other. But I mean, 57 throws, like that's a lot. I mean, considering Georgia did run the ball as well, I don't want to exclude them, their run game, because they did start utilizing it towards the end, which is why I said that 3rd-and-1 throw was kind of odd. Not odd, but not an odd play, but probably the reason why it threw off Alabama because they were running the ball extremely well in those like last minutes. I was like, I think I had tweeted out, I'm like, I think Alabama. Damn it. I think Georgia's gonna have to throw the ball at some point. And yeah, when they threw the ball, it was that 3rd-and-1 play, and they ran it in for the touchdown. So, hey, I used to play some football back in the day as well, so I know some stuff. But that their run game came in clutch and their offensive line was busting open holes like nothing. I'm like, why didn't you guys just do that earlier? But then again, like how I said, I feel like they waited to run some certain plays, just some luck was on their side. Extreme luck, by the way, because there's like this one play I want to get to that just doesn't make no damn sense. That they just had enough luck that they were able to run the plays that they needed to at specific points of the game, and that's what gave them the victory. So the one play I want to bring up is that, how do I explain this? Because it's even hard to explain. So Bennett was about to get sacked. He's scrambling around. The Alabama defender finally gets to him. It's like one of those awkward, like he's going to throw it, but it kind of slips off the back of his hand. And it kind of goes into the air and it bounces onto the ground. And it's about to go out of bounds. And then an Alabama defender picks up the ball. And then I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I thought it was very odd that when that defender picked up the ball and it walked out of bounds, the referee said Alabama football, and then half of the cheers, there was like a lot of cheering, but also a lot of what's in this crowd. Like the crowd was like a mixed reaction of like, what? Like, what's going on? And even the commentators are like, wait, I thought that ball was dead. But apparently the refs ruled it in real time a fumble, in which the Alabama defender who was following the ball picked up the ball, and from real-time video and real-time instant replay, it looks like he stepped out of bounds. But luckily, they have a lot of cameras, like a professional broadcast, as it should be. There was one angle, or a few angles actually, but the one main angle showed that there was a sliver of green on his toe when he grabbed the ball before he stepped out of bounds. And the funny thing is that defender wasn't even trying to pick up the ball before it went out of bounds. Like, he probably thought he thought he stepped out of bounds too right before he picked it up. So I was like, wait, what? So I thought personally, before all the instant replays, I was like, all right, for one, I thought he threw the ball because he's doing the throwing motion, but I guess it wasn't enough to convince the refs, so they say he fumbled it. And yeah, Alabama football at like the 30-yard line, on the opposing 30-yard line. I'm like, bro, what the hell? Like, what type of shenanigans are this? But nope, straight up, I guess, yeah, it was a fumble, and the guy picked it up just by dumb luck. But luckily, Georgia, they were on a good one on their defense, and they kept them from scoring the touchdown. Which, in like a couple years ago, that would have torn apart teams that were going up against Alabama. If that would have happened against any other team, Alabama would have scored a touchdown off of that turnover. Because, I guess it's not a fluke call, but it's a fluke play. Like you never expect anything like that to happen to your team or to your players, for something that not even instant replay can comprehend. But yes, another college football season has come and gone. Once again, I didn't want to see two SEC teams, but screw it. Something's better than nothing. And to see Georgia finally slay the dragon, and for the Georgia head coach to finally get one over his former mentor, screw it. Hey man, it makes for good television. It makes for good football. I mean, it could have been a little bit better in the first half. Like, I mean, if you really like defense, but offense gets people to sit in the seats. But defense wins championships, and Georgia's defense, held on enough to defeat Alabama and the Heisman Trophy winner. So good on them. Next up, we're going to move on from the collegiate field. If I didn't forget to say anything, which I'll just say one more thing. This was a fun college football season. But now that that's done, we got some NFL playoffs. And this should be an interesting season. I mean, interesting playoff run, because it's not just a wild card weekend. They had to make it the super wild card weekend. Like, wow. Like, what makes this different from a regular wild card weekend? Nothing. It's just football. I don't know what the hell is wrong with them. Hey, let's just add super to the beginning of it and see what happens. Dude, it's still just the wild card games. But yeah, here we are now, very close to these NFL games. And yeah, the season went down to the wire, literally to the last game, with the Chargers and the Raiders playing for one of the last spots in the playoffs, in which I believe both teams could have tied and gone, but both of these teams were bloodthirsty, especially the fans, and they wanted to get a victory, in which the Raiders in overtime, late overtime, like in the last seconds, defeated the Chargers on a field goal. I believe the score was 35-32. I think the last time because there was like a minute left and there was still an overtime. Like, guys, like, just end the game. Like, what are you guys doing? Just go home. Just take the tie. But no, them Raiders had to come up on top because, their old saying, just win, baby. And yeah, that's what they did. They just won. And great. And I would just very quickly just say great for the Raiders to honor the late John Madden. Yeah, moving on. Another team that squeaked into the playoffs were the 49ers, who got the last spot in the NFC and kicked out my Saints, unfortunately. It was funny to see on the Saints Instagram, they posted the score. It said blank versus the Falcons. But instead of putting the name of the Saints, they put visitors 30, Falcons 20. And I was like, oh man. Like, that hurts. They did everything they could, and they unfortunately, found themselves the last ones out. Well, second to last if you count the Chargers, but to me, they were the last ones out because it was devastating. But enough about the teams that didn't make it. How about the teams that did make it, and which I will give you guys the schedule and a little description on where to watch the game, what time they're at, and a little history on these next NFL games. And I'll give you, I guess, my opinions on who's probably going to win them. So on Saturday, January 15th at 4 p.m. Eastern on NBC, on the AFC side, the number 5 Raiders will play at the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a rematch of their game in which the Bengals won 32-13 on the road back in week 11. I could tell you that this is the first time that these two teams have met in the postseason since January 1991, when the Raiders started Cincinnati's 31-year playoff losing streak. I think this should be a good game. I think Derek Carr, he's looking to prove himself that he is an elite quarterback. And, ever since that injury, it did throw him off. And, losing John Gruden and a whole gang of players, like, people kind of thought people thought this team was down and out, but somehow, some way, they've kept themselves tough and just kept winning. For the Bengals, hey man, they got Joe Burrow, right? They better, because if not, then they might be in trouble, because I think he didn't play the last game, but Cincinnati's been knocking on the door for a while, so this should be a good game. The second game on January 19th, on that Saturday, is the number 6 Patriots going to Buffalo, the number 3 team in the AFC. This is a 8:15 p.m. Eastern time game. CBS streaming on Paramount Plus. Yes, I know, another damn streaming service. Why not? So I guess you could say these are two divisional rivals who'll be meeting the third time this season. And the Patriots and the Bills, they split their season series with the home team losing each time, which is interesting because I wouldn't say the Patriots are the best team. I wouldn't even say the Bills are the best team, considering they have Josh Allen, who's been on the ups in his football career, who will be going up against another guy who's trying to do the same thing. What's his name? Mac Jones from Alabama. Shout out Alabama once again. And yeah, I mean, somehow, some way, Mr. Belichick and Mac pushing this team barely over the line into the AFC playoffs, because yeah, last season was rough considering they had I'm forgetting his name now. It's in my head, but it's not coming to my mind. There we go. Cam Newton. They had Cam Newton, and who played all right, but you could tell he was still very stiff, and Yeah, he was no longer the man he used to be. But hey, Mac Jones, he did what he could and he got them over the line. For the Bills, Josh Allen just needs to play. He needs to play consistent, and I feel like the Bills' defense has to be on point because I don't think this Patriots team is scary at all with the offense. So if the Bills can contain the Patriots offensively, I think the Bills might be able to take this one. And then the next day on Sunday, January 16th, we have the number 17 in the NFC. Finally, we have the number 17 Eagles going to Tampa Bay, the number 2 seed, to face the Buccaneers with Tom Brady. This is a 1 p.m. Eastern game. It's on Fox. The Eagles will get another crack at the Buccaneers team that beat them 28-22 back in Week 6. After the defeat to them, the Eagles went 7-4 after the final 11 games to earn a playoff berth. So the Bucs have played good all season, but the Eagles are on a good one, as in they have all the momentum on their side. And not just because all the momentum from all those people that almost fell on Jalen Hurts is on their side. So football-wise, I want to say the Eagles might be able to pull this one off. Because same thing, the Bucs are good with Tom Brady at the helm. They lost AB. They lost Antonio Brown. I haven't really heard much about Gronkowski. I don't know if he's hurt or not. Or he's just not playing up to par anymore. But I want to say the Eagles are going to pull this one off. Because just momentum. You want to get hot at the right moment. And, like the Bucs losing to the Saints like 9-0. Like, come on, guys. Like, you guys can't be doing that when you guys are like the best team in the league. But then again, it's Tom Brady. It's a Tom Brady-led team. So maybe experience might be the benefactor for the Bucs. And as in Tom might be able to coordinate the offense in a way that the Eagles' defense can't understand or, break through. But I don't know. I want to say the Eagles could do it. They could pull it off somehow, some way. But who knows? And on that same day, January 16th, on a Sunday, the number 6 team, 49ers, will be going to Dallas to face the Cowboys, the number 3 team, at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, CBS and Nickelodeon. Yes, Nickelodeon once again. And the game will also be streamed on Paramount Plus as well. This is a rematch of one of the most storied rivalries in NFL history, playoff history of that matter. Even though the teams have met 7 times in the playoffs, this will mark their first postseason meeting since the 1994 season. Which, by the way, that's also the last time the 49ers won the Super Bowl. So there's a lot of history in this game. The Cowboys have been hot. Dak Prescott has been playing out of his damn mind. For the 49ers, I mean, they skimmed their way past the Rams just to get here. So I don't know how much I don't know where they will be at mentally for this game, considering, they had to literally fight till the last day to get in, and which they almost didn't even make it either. Because they had to make it off of a field goal, to my knowledge, if I'm saying that correctly. But hey, Jimmy Garoppolo, who would have knew? Who would have thought? Who would have thunk that the backup from the Patriots was going to win it, be the leader of the 49ers? And he's thrown a lot this year. He's thrown for 3,810 yards. He averages 8.6. He's 20 touchdowns. He's only thrown 12 picks. And I think I guess you could say his QB rating, I believe, if I'm reading this correctly on my notes, 98.7%. So that's pretty good, to my knowledge. So yes, this should be a good matchup to watch, as in, like as I stated before, these teams have met a few times in the playoffs, 7 times in the playoffs. So we should be looking for some fireworks to come out of this game. Isn't this I believe, yeah, the Niners and the Cowboys were both involved in, that the infamous catch in the back of the end zone for the Niners to win. I believe that's what it's referred to. So, yeah, history is on this side of the game. I'm still baffled that they're going to show the game on Nickelodeon. And if you haven't seen a Nickelodeon broadcast of the game, dude, they're freaking hilarious. Not like it's funny, it's just funny to like see, like unbelievable funny. Like, haha, like a chuckle funny, like, y'all serious with this? I mean, then again, they're probably just trying to get to that kid demographic and have goofy CGI pop up on the screen with fake slime go off when they score touchdowns on the field. But then again, what do I know? I ain't a kid no more, unfortunately. And another game on that Sunday on January 16th, the number 7 Steelers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, will be going to the Kansas City Chiefs, the number 2 seed, and will play at 8:15 p.m. Eastern on NBC. Ben Roethlisberger will get a chance to put off his retirement for another week or two if the Steelers can figure out a way to upset the very dominant Chiefs with Mr. Patrick Mahomes at the helm. Yeah, so it's not going to be easy. And just about 2 weeks ago, I believe, the Steelers were blown out by Kansas City 36-10. So either the Steelers play their hearts out and keep Big Ben's Super Bowl dreams alive, or they're going to get steamrolled by this Chiefs team, because like they are the more dominant team, in my opinion, in the league, even though they are the number 2 seed. I mean, the Packers might have something to say about that, but it's just something about the Chiefs, the way they play to organize themselves. Like, they take matters into their own hands. So it is going to be a difficult game, as I said. So hopefully they, get it all together before the game. And then finally, to end Super Wild Card, the hell are they calling this? Super Wild Card weekend. They're gonna play a game not even on the weekend, on January 17th, the last game of the Super Wild Card weekend. The number 5 Arizona Cardinals will go to the number 4 LA Rams, and at 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ABC/ESPN, the 2 divisional rivals will meet for the 3rd time this season. The Cardinals and the Rams did split their season series, with the home team losing each time. Once again, a very interesting stat to be aware of. And I wouldn't say that's the greatest news for the Rams, because, well, they're going to be the home team in this game. And for this game, hey, the Cardinals started out really, really hot. People thought, this is it. They're going to be able to do it. But, I don't even want to say they cooled off. They kind of just fell off the cliff for like a hot second. And people thought they were done. In which, they had to start winning again towards the end of the season just to get in. And then these damn Rams, all you had to do was beat the Niners and the Saints would have been in. But no, you guys had to screw it up. You guys were at home playing the Niners. Like, come on. You guys were up big in the first half as well. Like, why y'all gotta be like this? Like, I'm still kind of upset. Like, I'm trying to be biased or whatever, but come on, guy. Come on, man. It's just very disappointing on my end. But yeah, this should be an interesting series of games to watch, because a lot of the games were fun to watch towards the end of the season. And I hope everyone enjoys them as well, as much as I did. I mean, I didn't get to watch all of them, but from that last Raiders and Chargers game, like, that was the playoff game into the playoffs. Like, if they could keep up, if the NFL can have games that keep up that momentum, this should be really, really fun to watch, because no one else loves playoff time. I mean, everybody loves playoff time, so what am I talking about? Playoff time is always fun to watch. So, yeah, hopefully my very quick description helps you guys decide who you should root for or who you should root against. So yeah, I believe that's everything for NFL playoff time segment moments of the podcast. So, with that being said, I believe it's time that we move to the warm up segment of the show, in which we focus on a smaller sports topic, but of course, it could kind of be a little bit of a rant, kind of something, a little bit of a story, or something, in the news that wouldn't garner like a lot of time or mention, in which why I'm explaining it once again. I like to talk about the MLS Super Draft. And to be honest, I like a lot of you guys like, well, what is the MLS Super Draft? Well, for what I could tell you is that it's the Major League Soccer version of every other version of American sports draft, in which they get college or international players and they draft them onto their team. It's not very popular as the other major sports draft. I mean, it's never going to reach the heights of the NFL or the NBA's draft, but it still has some. I mean, I don't know. It still has some weight to it, but it's not ever going to reach that levels, considering it was on YouTube this past week. But yeah, I kind of wanted to bring it up because, well, it happened, and I like soccer, which a lot of you guys know, but I just wanted to speak upon, like, is it important? Because that's kind of like the big thing that always happens around this time when they have the draft. Like, do we really need a draft for the MLS? I believe they had one last year as well, but they had no combine. I think they did the same thing this year, because usually they host it at this like US American like soccer conference every year. But of course last year they didn't have it, and I don't think they had it this year. So that MLS still decided to host it, in which they, smaller production, but they still had it, a lot of Zoom, a lot of volume getting cut off. But hey, it was still, if you were diehard as myself, you can still watch it. I mean, I didn't get to watch most of it, but hey, it's still entertaining to watch in some ways. But my main point is that there is and there isn't a need for it, because there's a lot of guys on this list that I'm looking at that got drafted today, or as of this recording of this week, that probably aren't going to go very far here in the league. Like, congrats to all these guys, though. You guys worked hard. You went to your college. You played for your team in wherever area of the world you're at, and you got picked up from a decent sized club in the world. Like, shout out to there's no way, this guy Ben Bender, midfielder from Maryland, got drafted number 1 overall in the first round by Charlotte FC. I got to see the clip of him and his family celebrating. It was a video conference thing, so it was him and his family in his house, and they had all his jerseys when he was like a kid up until now, like all hung up, like hanged up in the back, and it was cool. And he says he's just really proud to get to play for Carolina. It's a new team, it's an expansion team, so he's just ready to go out there and play. But then again, like, there's a lot of guys on here, like even Mr. Bender might not go that far or see a lot of playing time. Well, maybe because they're an expansion team, but like, you got Roman Celentano, goalkeeper from Indiana, who went second to FC Cincinnati. FC Dallas picked up Isaiah Parker, forward from St. Louis. Number 4 went to Houston Dynamo. They drafted Thorleifur Ofarson from Duke. I have no idea who that is. Sorry if I mispronounced that. And then to round up the top 5, Austin FC picked up Kip Keller, a defender from St. Louis as well. But like I said, like, there's a lot of guys on here that might not be getting any, might not be going too far in the league. And I hate to say that, but it's just that like I said in the beginning, it is and it isn't important because you will find those diamonds in the roughs, and those are the guys that you want. Because you could find a Tejan Buchanan, you could find a Daryl DK, you could get a Brad Guzan, you can get a Jack Harrison, you can get a Kai Kamara, and go years with these people in the league, just in the league. And who knows, like if they're even any better, they could go further than the MLS. Like Brad Guzan went to Europe, Daryl DK went to Europe, Tejan Buchanan is going to Europe, Jack Harrison in the EPL. Like there's there's guys in here that they could ball. Is that overall, like the extent of how big the draft is, it's I wouldn't say a necessity anymore. But hey, kudos to all these guys that that are still doing it, like that still want to be drafted because it's like a big deal. Your family's there. If you're who was it? Damn, I'm forgetting. I'm thinking. Oh, I think it was Austin that did it. They sent like a whole little convoy of 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 fans to one of the draftees' house to go and surprise him. Like, hey, you're a number one pick, or you're a number two pick, wherever he was that year. And like they interviewed him outside his house, and they're cheering his name and telling him how cool that is that he got drafted to their team. Like that sounds exciting. That's entertaining. It's fun. It's a feel good story. So you would miss out on that if the MLS were to get rid of the draft. But then again, you have teams like the Galaxy, who the past couple of years, just for some reason, like either A, the draft isn't important to the team, or B, actually no, there is no A or B. Or actually no, A, it's not important, or B, they're just terrible at this thing because there's been years where they would trade away picks and we have like one, and then that one pick they would just skip. Like they wouldn't even get nobody because they would be like, you know what, we're not looking for nobody anyway. We didn't scout no college guys. Like what the hell? Like we're not gonna do this crap. I mean, lucky this year they did. I think they went. Yeah, the Galaxy went 21. They drafted someone by the name of Farah Mutatu. He is from Michigan State and he has a forward. So let's see where they play him because I mean they already got forwards. So I wouldn't be surprised if they put him out at the wing and try to convert him. That's what happens to a lot of these players. They don't even get to play their position. Like I think there was one year there's so many forwards drafted, but they never even got to play their position. Like I'm looking at the draft list right now. Like the first round went to draft 8. I mean, to draft number 8. So 28, my bad. It went to the number 28th pick was the first round. So a lot of these guys have the F for forward next to their name. So let's see if they're even used there. Because other than that, like you better ball out. Like one guy that played in college that comes to mind, even though he didn't have to go in through the draft. Jordan Morris, he played at Stanford. That team was stacked at the time. I mean, for a college team, but just to have Jordan Morris on your team was like a game changer. And it was even more remarkable for him because he got to play for the U.S. national team. So I think that there is some worth coming out from college. It's just that it takes a little bit longer, and the infrastructure for college soccer just isn't to the level of Division 2 or Division 3, I believe. And the USA soccer hierarchy, I think college soccer is like 4th or 5th division. And the only times that these teams, even the women's soccer teams, get attention is during the tournament. And specifically the later parts of the tournament. And it's like, all right, well, what they do, our team made it into the first round, just get knocked out. So not a lot of people, focus on, they don't focus a lot on college soccer. And a lot of the MLS clubs, I believe, also do the same because, they have your academies, they have academies, they have scouting. So it's not like it's probably the last place they will look for players for their team because you're going to be scouting all year round. and the MLS is still it's still small in the world soccer landscape, but it's grown so much in many ways here in the United States. So I think if they could figure out a way to make it more meaningful, not just for the players getting drafted, but for the teams, like they could keep it around a little bit longer. But I wouldn't be surprised if Commissioner Don Garber has been told, like, hey, like, do you think you guys could like chill with the drafts? Because if not a lot of people are watching, or they struggle to keep teams interested and not have them skip, like it's going to be a struggle to convince players to even show up, or even declare or want to even go to the MLS and find other or better options to play soccer somewhere. Because soccer here in the US has grown significantly, so I wouldn't see why the MLS couldn't be able to fix that, or to make sure that teams just fall out of love with the draft. I mean, it's more of a dramatic way to say it, but just to help them care about it. Kind of like how they revamped the playoffs to make them care about home field advantage. So hopefully by next season or the season after, they eradicate any issues that hinder the draft for the teams, and the players that really care about their soccer career can look forward to the draft, because that's this is my point is that this is what it's about, like for the players, that the young youth players that want to play. And as I'm saying that, I just realized too, like the MLS was created to help develop American players, and like that's what this should be all about, but it's lost its luster. But yeah, I know I kind of explained a lot, but that's just something that I wanted to bring up in today's warm up. So, and I couldn't leave out any soccer. But yeah, that was the warm up, and now we will go to the final segment of the show. Somehow, some way, I've gotten this far. We are going now to the roundup. If you made it this far, thank you. Thank you very much. And yeah, in the roundup for this week, we got a few things. I don't know if you guys heard, but there's this team in the NBA. They're called the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, they have Stephen Curry, but they got back this guy. I think his name's Klay Thompson. And after a 2-year departure from a leg injury, Mr. Klay Thompson has finally returned to the hardwood and to the NBA, and has struck the hearts of many who recognize him as one of the best players in the league. Probably even can I even say this? Is he better than Steph Curry? Like, can I even say that? Like, just as a shooter, like a better shooter than Steph Curry. And people are just happy to see him back, because the Golden State Warriors last season were not the same at all. In which I feel like their lack of play last year was another reason why they didn't rush Klay to come back, because they're like, well, why the hell we're gonna have you play when we're in a bubble, we're playing like shit, so why are we gonna bring you back? And yeah, I mean, welcoming in the new year, Klay Thompson returns. Currently, as of this recording, he has 17 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and I believe, if I'm reading this correctly, 11.36 points per game, I believe. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But anyways, if that's wrong, just disregard anything I just said. But hey, we got the Splash Brothers back, and that's a welcoming sight to see. But another important aspect that I like to mention in regards to his return is that the Warriors have been playing out of their damn minds once again. Back at it again with them white vans. It's just stunt on everybody, because I believe they're on like a winning streak of sorts, in which they're second in the Western Conference with a 30-10 record. So you're telling me that this team that's 30-10 just got one of their best players back, one of their best offensive threats back, one of their best ball handlers back. So the NBA is now put on check in high alert. And hey, I think they will give the Phoenix Suns a run for their money. They're only one game back from them right now. So I think we're going to have, similar to the NFL, a good playoff series to watch. Because if the Warriors go on a good one, like they did, what was it, 2015, 2016 season? The year they won like 72 games, like, or 70 whatever, they're going to be unstoppable. And I highly doubt that they would mess it up this time in the finals if they even reach it that far. So good luck to them, and good luck to the rest of the league, because Klay Thompson, he's one bad son of a gun when he has the ball in his hands and he's at the 3-point line. So watch out. In other NFL news that I did not mention earlier because it didn't make any sense for me to mention it, I believe, the NFL had a lot of firings. It was very ruthless, as I was quoted to say not too long ago, that this happens every year. After the season ends, a lot of NFL teams are all right, you're out of here, buddy. And yeah, just to name a few, the Broncos released Vic Fangio, the Vikings released Mike Zimmer, the Bears released Matt Nagy. I don't know how do you keep that guy there for so long? Like, dude, he played like crap for like 3 seasons straight, and you guys keep him there. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? You can't even pick a quarterback, and you guys keep him there for so long. Like, gosh, man, like, who is running this organization? But anyways, enough of that little rant. The Dolphins also released Mike Flores, which I don't know why. I know they struggled, and they played terribly in the beginning of the season, but hey, they almost turned it around. They almost made it. They were like 2 games away from making it to the playoffs. So to me, it is a little shocking that they pulled the trigger and they told him to go skedaddle. I don't know. I would have kept him. Maybe, who knows? He could have turned it around if he gave him more time. Like, all you need is some patience. But I guess they couldn't wait much longer, and they just decided to release him. So who knows who's going to be his replacement? But I don't know. I just don't. I never get the point on teams that release their coaches or players that were on the cusp of greatness and just fell short. But then again, they might have just ran out of time in their plan, in which the teams, I hope, come together and like, oh, we're gonna do this today, and organize their time frame of how they want to go with their team and their organization. So I guess his time came and went. Mr. Mike Flores is out. Another guy that deserved to be fired was Joe Judge from the Giants, from New York. Dude, this team is just bad. They're so bad. They're worse than the Jets, who had just been bad for years as well. I think he was only there for like a year, 2 years. As a coach, I have his stats up right here. 32nd in NFL points per game, 16.3. 32nd in yards per game, 293.3 yards. 32nd in yards per play was 4.80, and 32nd in red zone efficiency with a percentage of 45.6%. Holy shit. Like, these guys were bad. Like, these guys were not good at all. Like, how could you allow this? How could you hire a man to allow this? What is wrong with you guys? Why would you do that? I don't know. This is very odd. But anyways, those are the fallen heroes. Actually, not. Some of these guys are not even heroes. What the hell I'm talking about? Those are just the fallen guys. Those are the guys that got fired. They got Vince McMahon. You're fired. And yeah, they're gone forever. Peace out. They'll probably be like offensive coordinators and then be touted as the best offensive coordinator and given a second chance somewhere else. But I hope not, because I hate when that happens, because it's so stupid. But yeah. And the last thing I have for the warm-up here today, whenever you're listening to this podcast, The NBA All-Star voting has started. Yes, the favorite time of the year for any NBA fan, because that's just when you get to go vote who you want to see in the NBA, or I should say the NBA All-Star game, because he always gets all goofy because player A got in, but player B didn't, and it's like, okay, and like I already got a lot of Twitter messages saying, "Hey, do you want to vote for who do you think should be in the All-Star game that didn't get any votes?" I'm like, bro, we just barely started. Like, can you guys chill out for a second? And just to let you guys know, this year's 2022 All-Star game will be in Cleveland. And I'm already looking at this logo. It's just Cleveland colors. I'm like, bro, why you gotta do that? Like, I'm just getting LeBron James vibes from this. But yeah, if you're a big NBA fan, go and vote for your favorite player, or your team players to be on the team, or not your team players if you don't want them to get hurt. That's also very understandable. But I'm not saying you should go vote for your rival team's players and have them play and get tired. I'm not saying that at all, because that'd be diabolical. Because then your guy would be rested, and then their guy would be tired the next time they play each other. I'm not saying they did that at all, but that'd be pretty funny. But in more important news, for the NBA All-Star game, the game will be on Sunday, February 20th. And once again, it will be in Cleveland, home of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and will be on TNT, TNT, and the All-Star game itself will be on TBS. So make sure you guys are all prepared for that. And my pick that I think the person who's been playing well and should be in the All-Star game should be Alex Caruso, because he left the Lakers and people thought, well, he was just a support man. No, he's with the Bulls and he's still balling out. So give the man some respect, because why not? And that's all I have today for the rundown. So yeah, I'm a little gassed again, like last time, because these solo episodes are not easy to record. But hey, like I said, it's you just got to go through the motions. And yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to mention earlier, but Danny's he's been busy, so wish him luck at his real job. So yeah, I think yeah, that's the show today, guys. I have nothing else on my list I haven't missed, but yeah, thank you for listening to Rambling RunOff, a sports podcast. If you've been listening on YouTube, make sure you press that subscribe button and press the like button as well, because I appreciate it very, very much. If you've been listening on Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, somehow, some way, thank you. If there's any reviews you would like to leave, go ahead and do that. I would like to see what you guys think about the podcast. And if you want to find us on the socials, you can find us on Twitter at Off Rambling. And if you want to find us on Instagram, you can find us at Rambling RunOff. If you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me at Robert RY. So yeah, that was the show, guys. See you next time. Hopefully I'll have somebody else with me, so I won't be this tired. So yeah, you guys have a good day, good night, wherever you're at. See ya. Peace out.